clinic in general, we have the normal legal clinic as the pro bono. So
sorry to interrupt. Your presentation, you're not sharing screen. Can you share screen again? Okay, we got it.
okay, so we have normal environmental, we have normal legal clinic as the pro bono, and that legal clinic have the general cases. They can walk in, the people can walk in and ask about their case, and at that legal clinic, the student work under close supervisor from the professor. And then the last point that we would like to establish another environmental clinic beside the normal clinic, because we have a group of environmental lecturer that focusing in many aspects of environmental law. For example, the community rights, the pollution, the for example, the light pollution. So we think we have more of the support from our lecturer, and also we have a very close, very supportive from the international organization, such as the UNEP, ADB. At that time of 2015, I went to Philippines with the TTT Champion Conference and Training Program. In 2017, the law faculties host the national training program for the environmental lecturer in Thailand. And lastly, I went to Wuhan to join the environmental legal clinic conference. So for all of these reasons, I think Chiang Mai University Law School ready to establish the environmental legal clinic. So the objective that we have, the approach of clinical legal education, or CLE, as well as the ELC is the environmental legal clinic. So from both of these concepts, we want to have the active learning for our students, and also to reach an objective of law for society, to serve and advocate the people for their environmental rights. And also, normally, previously we have already our support for the people's rights, but we have we would like to have the institutionalized for the civil rights movement on environmental issue. And this is the concept of CLE, that we want to have the seat to continue our law student as their expertise for the environmental advocacy. Actually, the law school in Thailand, it is not mandatory to have the environmental law as the compulsory course. And also at Chiang Mai University, we used to have the environmental law course as the core course and mandatory for the law student. But lately, we have lost this course. Now we have the elective course for environmental law, but we think we will select and also have more of the students who really want to study environmental law, and also have more of the practice in the environmental legal clinic. So this is the objective that we want to have. So the scope that we want to manage our environmental legal clinic. We want to do and continuing what we have done in the past. First is the supervise the strategic case. We have the expertise and have play the role as an expert affidavit in many of the environmental cases. Also, we conduct the environmental research. We can have the data and information for the public in the aspect of law and environment. And then also for the academic, we think we can be the law and policy recommendations for the government and the public. So this is the criteria that we think we want to continue our our environmental legal clinic. So the plan that we proceed our establishment of environmental legal clinic is we draft and already passed the curriculum for the current curriculum that we have, the course specifically on the ELC or environmental legal clinic, and merge with the clinical legal education. So this is the 6 credit course that have the provide also the grading. So the student have to pass the environmental law course before register to this environmental legal clinic course. And we have the network with the NGO and the INGO on the environmental supportive. And the third one that we want to have is to have the staff like the manager to continuing the environmental legal clinic. What we still on the process of thinking is, should we have the performance on the litigation like Wuhan environmental clinic, because this one will have the screening for the case on public interest policy that the student in the ELC will screen the walk-in case that should we provide this legal advice and conduct the litigation, which it tend to have the limit for the Chiang Mai Law School. So we decide that we will not have the mandate on the litigation. And the last one is the point that should we have the independent, because in some case studies that we learn from Victoria University of Victoria, that they also have the environmental legal clinic, that they separate unit from the law school and the university. So in this case of the UWIC, they don't need to worry about the intervention of the government. However, at the law school at Chiang Mai University, we don't have this problem yet. So this will be less concern for our studies. So from all of these reasons, we will have the vision that we will establish the CMU ELC by the end of this year. So we still on the process. Last mandate that we will have is the collaboration within the Southeast Asia Law School. We want to have the workshop that we also think after this conference, we will seek for the support, especially from the UNEP, that Dr. Georgina Loy is also our main support. We used to have the research and the paper. We have the article that we have the research on how we should establish ELC at the CMU law faculties. And then we have the project that we want to have the self-sustain. So this will be our presentation. Thank you so much, and I will wait for the Q&A later.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Nokamon. As I mentioned, the Q&A will be after all the presentation, just for efficiency of time. So next, I invite Dr. Christopher John Megito, Director of the Office of the Legal Aid, University of Cebu. He will present on mainstreaming environmental justice through green legal clinics. John?
Hello, can I be heard? Yes. Good afternoon, everyone.
Can someone share the screen for the presentation, please? Thank you.
All right, thank you. So the title of my presentation is Mainstreaming Environmental Justice Through Green Legal Clinics. I am John Mengito, the Managing Trustee of the Philippine Earth Justice Center and the Director of the Office of the Legal Aid of the University of Cebu in the Philippines. So this is the Philippine Earth Justice Center. Sorry. So the Philippine Earth Justice Center started our story when there was an offshore drilling. This is the island of Cebu in the Philippines, located right smack at the center of the Philippine archipelago. And in 2007, there was an offshore drilling in that beautiful, one of the largest marine protected seascape in the country we called Tanyon Strait. And we opposed against that offshore drilling. The next year, government and JICA pulled out of the project, but the case went on, and the case was decided by the Supreme Court in 2015, which in the Philippines we now know as the resident mammals case. That is the story of the Philippine Earth Justice Center. And the Office of the Legal Aid of the University of Cebu, our thrust is to bring the law closer to the people. So allow me to share the recent changes made by the Supreme Court of the Republic of the Philippines on the study of law. We have two new concepts, the Clinical Legal Education Program and the Revised Law Student Practice Rule. So what is the CLEP? The Clinical Legal Education Program is an experiential, interactive, and reflective credit-earning teaching course with objectives of providing law students with practical knowledge, skills, and values necessary for the application of the law, delivery of legal services, and promotion of social justice and public interest, especially to the marginalized, while inculcating in the students the values of ethical lawyering and public service. As a matter of fact, this coming September, the bar exams in the Philippines will happen again, and they are the first batch who are required to undergo the Clinical Legal Education Program. We at the University of Cebu and the Philippine Earth Justice Center thought it best to introduce the environmental law clinic we call the Green Legal Clinics. The revised law student practice rule was institutionalized by the Supreme Court of the Philippines through an amendment of the rules on June 15, 2019, otherwise known as the revised law student practice rule, to address the need for access to justice for the marginalized sectors. This is also intended to enhance learning opportunities for law students by instilling in them the value of legal professional social responsibility and to prepare them for the practice of law. Lastly, this is to improve and streamline law student practice and regulate limited practice of law by the law student practitioners. That's why we thought of getting a share of the pie by introducing the Green Legal Clinics. So what is the Green Legal Clinics? Its vision is simple. for environmental lawyers, law student practitioners, and public interest groups working together in promoting environmental advocacy, providing timely assistance to environmental disputes, and capacitating local communities. We have three goals. Number one, to strengthen environmental law education in the Philippines. It's in law schools, it's a 2-unit subject. To encourage more lawyers and law students to specialize in environmental litigation, and to capacitate lawyers and law students in environmental law. So what are our approaches in the green legal clinics? In empowering legal empowerment approaches, we use the following. We have strategic litigation, information and education campaigns, capacity building trainings, policy reform and proposals. In the next slides, I'm going to share with you what we have done currently at our green legal clinics using this approach. Prior to asking our law students to go to communities, these are our approach. The classroom aspect, we train the students under the supervision of practitioners and experts all over the world to deepen their appreciation of the role of lawyers in nation building. And the community aspect, when they go to the communities, to raise communities' awareness on their rights and obligations, and to provide quality access to justice to the marginalized and disadvantaged. In 2021, we started with 5 green legal clinics in the Philippines. Heading the pack is the University of Cebu. As I've said, this is the map of the Philippines, and 4 other law schools in the country: University of San Agustin in Iloilo, 1 in Mindanao, the Andres Bonifacio College, 1 in Leyte, and 1 in Bohol. But to date, we currently now have 15 green legal clinics located in the different areas in the Philippines. So these are, like I said, we capacitate our law students prior to asking them to go out. So we invited experts from the US to share with them that understanding the foundations of different models of environmental law clinics. Also experts in the Philippines and other areas in the out in Southeast Asia. We invited our friends in the environmental law network to share with our law students in coming up with the different topics of environmental law. So these are the trainings that we have conducted for our first set of our green legal clinics. And I'd like to share with you the highlights since we started. This year marks our 2nd year of implementation of our green legal clinic. This is a project we call the Rules of Procedure for Environmental Cases. We noticed that many police officers in the country do not know about environmental laws. And most of them also are victims of strategic lawsuit against public participation. Their role is to serve and protect. But how can they protect the environment when they themselves do not feel protected? Our law students with the supervising lawyer went around all police stations in the province of Cebu to teach police officers about strategic lawsuit against public participation and in making judicial affidavits. We also came up with local dialect, mga kasayuran mahitungod sa SLAP. All you need to know about SLAP, and left it behind them so that they'll be able to know. And we have an online help desk where they can access justice, where they will be able to go and message us if they need help. This is also a 2-pronged approach so that when we go to the communities, we will not be red tagged because our first stop is always the police officers. They know what we are doing in the communities that we go to. We were able to assist a chief of police who was implementing the law on waters. The chief of police was apprehending illegal fisher folks. After apprehension, the chief of police received a lot of cases, robbery, theft, among others, which is precisely what SLAP is all about. We were also able to help in drafting of the environmental code of the city of Mandaue, a highly urbanized city in the province of Cebu, wherein our law student practitioners are able to deal with policymakers in the local governments. And along with the drafting of the environmental code, starting with the city of Mandaue, we got a lot of invitations from other local governments wherein our law students with the supervising lawyer are able to draft environmental codes. To date, we already are able to help 16 LGUs in the Philippines draft their environmental code. So these are the other LGUs and the photos of the drafting of the environmental code. Most of them are in Cebu because our law school is located in Cebu. That's why we want to replicate more of these activities with the rest of the Philippines. Casework, as about mangroves, I also would like to share with you about a 65-year-old senior citizen message our Facebook page, our online help desk. She, some years ago, there was in an ordinary day, a landslide happened in the city of Naga in Cebu because of degradation of the environment. And just beside it, there was an ongoing dredging already and quarrying. So the 65-year-old senior citizen posted in her Facebook account, in not in verbatim, she said, "Help me. Dredging and quarrying is ongoing," and mentioned the name of the company. 3 weeks after, she got a summon from the prosecutor's office with a case cyber libel. Because of the lack of access to justice, she was unable to answer before the prosecutor level. Good thing, his grandson was able to locate our online help desk and message us about the situation of her grandmother. We were only unable to help her in the prosecutor level. The case, there was already a warrant of arrest. What we did is we passed the hat for her to bail her out. And we represented her before the courts with the supervising lawyer and our law student practitioners. Because in the Philippines now, the law students have a limited practice of law with the supervising lawyer. So that's why I said for environmental litigation, we call it strategic litigation because in SLAP suits, we do not allow our clients to be arraigned. The first step is not arraignment when it is a criminal case, but to file for the motion to dismiss by virtue that this is SLAP. This is Sabiniana Castro, and the court in Cebu decided to dismiss the case because it is SLAP. The case was decided in 2022. And in this situation, the law students were also encouraged that there is really something good that comes out in their practice. And at the same time, we are also able to help SLAP suits cases. At any given time, we have 20 to 30 SLAP suits in our office. Right. I'm wrapping up. We do also policy work wherein CESAFI is one of the biggest sports team network in Cebu, and they declare climate emergency, and they do not no longer allow single-use plastics in all their games and venues. I mean, the last 2 minutes, we engage with the youth with a young environmental champion program. These are the things that also were done. We also partner a lot with sciences. We gather different sciences and the academe to get their research on single-use plastic, among other things. And we use them in making policy, in crafting good policies, and also in case litigation. These are the things that we have done in the Philippines. And currently, I'd like to share with all of you before I end my presentation that for the past 2 years, we have 5 green legal clinics, 23 law student interns, 49 capacity building and training conducted, 8 policy works, 12 cases built, and 69 communities reached and counting. And we are expanding to 15 law schools all over the country, and we are excited to do more for the environment. Thank you and good afternoon.
Thank you very much, John. Very impressive work. So next, I'll move on to Professor Wang Chanfa. He's the director for the Center for Legal Assistance to Pollution Victims. He will deliver the presentation. We have next to him Shi Ting, who is from Client Earth, who will help with some translation when that's needed, especially questions from the floor. So without further ado, may I invite Professor Wang to deliver your presentation? Oh, the PPT. Oh, PPT. 待会儿，yeah. Oh, okay.
哎，不是的
Nothing.
啊呀，哎，让它全屏哦，yes，I will change about the topic. The successful experiment of the ELC of the CPL and its the reference ability. 为什么哎能不往下走？it is slowly. This is my introduce and the information. You can contact me. I will share the four topic. The first one is the legal clinical education of the China and the LC. The second is the features of the ERC at the COPL. COPL means the China University of Politics and Law. The third one is the topical the cases from the ELC of the COPL. The last one is the reference ability of the ELC model of the COPL. The legal clinical education of China and the ELC. The clinical style of the legal education in China began in 2000. Its establishment was jointly promoted by the Fourth Federation of the United States of the Chinese Law Society. Initially, 7 law school, including the Peking University, Renmin University, Tsinghua University, and Wuhan University, carried the out the clinical education. The Committee of the Chinese Clinical Legal Educator under the China Association for Legal Education now has 207 member schools. According accounting for about the 1/3 of the Chinese law schools. Please see the website. The China's legal clinics mainly involve the protection of the workers' rights, consumer rights, women's rights, the elderly rights, in intellectual property rights, public interest litigation, and the environmental protection fields, etc. This is the website, the clinic, the committee of China. The total topic is the features of the ELC and the COPL. Of the hundreds of the legal clinics in China, there are very few environmental laws clinics with a total of the no more than 10%. COPL was one of the first university to establish an environmental law clinic. It offered an environmental law clinic education course in 2004. And so far, the students of the 36 sessions have studied at the environmental law clinic. At the same time, COPL has also set up and the administrative law clinic, labor law clinic, intellectual property law clinic, and the criminal law clinic. This is my law school, the website, environmental law clinic, the 36th admissions announcement. CUPR Environmental Law Clinic has the following features. The first one, the mission, through heading the legal aid cases of the environment, students are cultivated the learning ability to think proactively and find answers by themselves. The practical ability to go into the community and handle cases by hand and help the vulnerable groups and defend the philosophy of the fairness and justice. And the compulsory course. The environmental law clinic course is the practical compulsory course for law students at the CUPL. And the students can receive 5 credits after the completing the course. CUPL Environmental Law Clinic has the third features. There is a center has the internship site that can provide clinics with the source of the environmental cases. CUPL law has CUPL has a center for legal assistance to pollution victims, which has provide legal advice to more than 10,000 pollution victims and handled more than 2,000 environmental tort and environmental public interest litigation cases for 25 years. The legal clinic students can answer the inquiries from pollution victims at the center and handle environmental tort and environmental public interest litigation cases. I'm the director of the CLAPWay, the Center for Legal Assistance to Pollution Victims. Yeah, this mark is my center's mark. There is a hotline. Another feature is the professor group with the rich handling environmental disputes. CUPL has the 12 professors and the associate professor of the environmental law who have the rich experience in environmental disputes resolution and environmental litigation, and can provide the professional guidance to environmental law clinic students. CLAPWay is the pro bono attorneys are also directly involved in mentoring legal clinic students. This is the group. The professor group, the 12. We have the big program in China. The environment law professor group. We have the pro bono lawyers for the clinic. This lawyer work at my the CLAPWay, so they can the guide for the student clinic students. we have some of the topic of the cases from the C of the COPM. Maybe we use too much the time. Please, Ms. Xu, the introduce simply this case.
Yeah, for time's sake, first one will not elaborate on the case received by the environmental law clinic students in CUPL. For instance, the case one is about water pollution case. Professor Wang just mentioned Clarkville has a hotline. The students received the call through the hotline that a small county in a province in Shanxi province has been polluted. After receiving the hotline, the professor and students has come up with some plan, legal plan to to solve this issue, and then finally it's not through litigation, but the students and the professor together go to the government to do some negotiation, and the government stops the pollution behavior, etc. The villagers finally was very satisfied with the successful case.
Yeah. Okay. 2 minutes. You
Yeah.
Simple. Yeah. This picture.
Yeah, this is a picture, and Professor Wang wants to mention that the red flag is a very traditional Chinese way from Chinese, villagers to express their sincere thanks to their students and their center.
Yeah, that's case 2.
Yeah, case 2 is about noise pollution case in Beijing, and in downtown Beijing, students and professor also went to in the community to do some investigation, negotiation to the victim's home to identify the noise, source, etc. So there are
the others.
yeah,
cases.
there are other different kinds of cases received by the environmental law clinic students.
Yeah, last of the topic is the reference say ability of the ELC model of the COPL. I think the mission of the ELC education must include the development of the students' idea of the environmental justice, with the goal of the providing the legal aid to victims of the environmental pollution and the ecological damage. Is the first one. The second one is ELC education must be combined with the formulation of the specific environmental cases of the environmental law document of the cultivate students' ability to deal with the practical problems. The second one is ELC education should preferably rely on the legal institution, include legal aid agency, NGO, law firm, etc. The further one is the environmental clinic students should not handle the environmental cases that are too significant and the complex cases. The fifth one is the ELC should employ the teachers who are the familiar with the both environmental law theory and the experience in handling environmental cases, and may include the environmental professionals and the lawyers to participate in guidance. The last one is ELC need to have the established stable source of the funding, either by a school or by the notion from social or welfare organizations. That's all. The last picture is the Time magazine 2000 elects as the hero of the environment in the world. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Professor Wang. All right, so we're in very good, we've done it in very good time. So we have at least 30 minutes for questions and answers and comments, preferably questions. I'll open it to the floor now for, can I have Dr. Nutamon on the screen, please, as one of the panelists? Thank you. We will take questions from the floor now. Kindly state your name and your affiliation, as well as to whom the question is directed to, if possible. Do I see any show of hands, or maybe we go by the country first? Are there any questions, comments? Yes, Nepal.
Oh, thank you so much for this beautiful session. As a law student, I also got to learn a lot of things over here. First and foremost, to Attorney Christopher John, in regards to Supreme Court of Philippines decision, I just need a procedural clarity. In a similar setting, the Supreme Court of Nepal in 2021, in Yagyamanni Neopane et al., with Tribhuvan University et al., they also centralized the concept of clinical education program, stated that, and I quote, "This means that the legal education program must compulsorily expose students to the problems of poverty, social exclusion, social change, and environmental degradation through clinical legal education." So my question is specifically that, does this concept of clinical environment comes through any precedent from the Supreme Court of Philippines, or is it a directive? That's the first question. Second question, Mr. Wong, and it's a funny question because I suppose if I'm correct, and if I get you correct, Mr. Wong, I think Civil, Commercial, and Economic Law School was the first one to establish environmental law clinic. If that's the case, then I suppose the law school is centralized in business concept. So it might be funny that we as a business law student usually get, oh, you people are business law student, you don't care about environment a lot. So did you get any sorts of criticism as such? And I find it very much inspiring because for a concept of business and environment, which is still developing across the globe, does your clinic also tend to look at that aspect or not? Those are my two questions. Thank you very much, everybody.
John, you can go first.
Thank you. On your question, it's good to know that in Nepal, you also have that clinical legalization program. In the Philippines, the goal is to increase access to justice and to help the marginalized. But we consider it at the University of Cebu and the Philippine Justice Center, that would include environmental justice. So that's why we created the Green Legal Clinic in the Philippines, and part of which is the implementation of the clinical legal education program. Thank you.
Professor Wang, would you like to respond?
不是好笑吧，是很有意思。其实呢，这个诊所建在民商经济法学，是因为我们环境法专业的老师，也就我们环境法研究所就在民商经济法学院。但是这些老师呢，搞法律并不是搞经济，所以呢，对于公平、公正的追求，是我们这些法学教授的共同的愿望。所以呢，给我们维护污染受害者的权利并不矛盾。
Yeah, actually, your question is not funny, but very interesting. Actually, the environmental law clinic is all of the professors are affiliated to the economic law department, but the whole department is, comprised of law professors who are not focusing on economic development. The mission and values of justice are the common course for every legal professor in this department.
其实呢，在学校建立这个环境法诊所，或者建立我们那个污染受害者法律帮助中心呀，都没有遇到太大的困难。那个困难是，当这样的诊所和这样的中心建立起以后，在社会上工作，曾经就受到了一些怀疑，就是说，你这样的帮助污染受害者能不能取得成功？
Yeah, actually, creating or establishing this kind of environmental clinic in university, we don't have that much challenge. The real challenge is for our students who graduated from law school, who want to pursue the same course to protect pollution victims for their career. And sometimes they face challenges from their boss by asking whether you can really make success or whether you can really make profits from this.
确实，在开始的时候，我们帮助污染受害者诉讼的时候，遇到了很大的困难。比如到法院去起诉，很多案件都不被受理，有的时候受理了，然后呢又判受害者来败诉。但是呢，通过我们这20多年的努力，然后呢，使中国的这个环境司法专门化得到了很大的发展。在中国已经有2400多个环境法庭来建立。然后呢，就是公益诉讼也发展起来了。现在环境案件受理也比较容易了。污染受害者胜诉的案件也越来越多。现在形势发生了很大的变化。
Yeah, actually, in the beginning of our environmental law clinic and collaborative work, we have faced a lot of challenges by, in terms of the case for pollution victims was not accepted by the court. The rights of pollution victims can't be protected. But after the more than 20 years development, now the whole specialization of environmental justice system in China has greatly improved, and the system of public interest litigation has greatly improved. Now, a lot of this kind of case can be accepted, and even pollution victims can win the case and ensure their rights protected. I think it's joint efforts made by everyone in this along this road, including environmental law clinics work.
对，现在在社会上很多人都认为我们过去所做的这些事情做对了，而且呢符合社会发展的大方向，然后呢而且促进了中国的环境保护。
Now, the key stakeholders in this field believe the past 20 years work made by Professor Wang and other professors, other students are very meaningful and valuable for promoting the environmental rule of law in China.
Thank you for your question.
Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Wang and Ms. Xu. Do we have another question from the floor? Bangladesh, please.
Thank you for getting the floor. It's really highly appreciating for the three panelists that the presentation was really excellent. We have come to know the many issues that has covered. We are very happy to know that the environmental law clinics is supporting the community and through the legal advice, as well as some case studies that also presented by Mr. Wang, and that in China that they have supported the environmental victims, some issues. I like to know that certainly that one issue that how the environmental law clinics is maintaining relation with the government to redress the issues relating to environmental concern or the victims, and what is the mechanism that are prevailing from concern that is coming to you and to until the final redressal system. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll answer that question first. Thank you. Well, we partner with government, especially in policy making, to ensure that our voices, or also from the academe and the non-government organizations and civil society, are also heard through local governments, and even we lobby for policy. So that's why in the crafting of environmental codes in the different localities, we are there. And we also do provide trainings, especially to the enforcers. We have an enforcement toolkit where we utilize this toolkit for training in the different localities in the Philippines. So how we deal with government is we partner with them and share with them what we know of environmental law, specifically on policy and enforcement. But as to litigation, we take on pro bono cases, specific, whether it be about SLAP suits, whether it be about reclamation, whether it be about issues on energy or issues on mangrove cutting. We take on actual cases and even reach up to the Supreme Court for cases. Thank you.
OK，中国跟菲律宾还不一样，菲律宾他们专门有一个规定，可以允许学生去到法院去打官司。但是现在呢，就是中国呢，是不允许没有律师资格的学生到法院去起诉的。所以在这一点上呢，我们的这个诊所的学生只能做一些比较简单的这个案件。这些案件呢，有的时候是给政府部门来沟通，让他们去解决问题。那么还有一些案件呢，是与这个污染者，比如像侵权人来进行沟通，进行调解解决。
Yeah, actually different from Philippines laws and policies. In China, those law school students who don't have a lawyer's license are not allowed to really file a case in the court. So in reality, the students receiving some, information or pollution victims request, that will help them negotiate or discussion with, for instance, with the polluters, with government departments, etc.
由于中国政法大学呢是在中国影响比较大的一个法律学校，所以呢，我们的学生在去进行案件调查或者是在解决这些问题的时候，会有中国政法大学做背景的这个影响。
And China University of Political Science and Law is a law school with great influence in China. So when these law school students go out to negotiate or discuss with related stakeholders, they can get some support and respect.
当然呢，就是有些环境纠纷通过这个诊所是没法解决，我们就可以通过我们那个中心 Collaborate 和我们的一个律师事务所，通过律师代理来解决。
But some, complex case can't be solved by environmental law clinic. Professor Wang also, established a pro bono law firm and also NGO Club V in China. So these are other ways of finally solving complex cases.
Thank you for your question.
Thank you very much. Are there any other questions? Yes, the lady at the back there.
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone, and thank you all the panelists for sharing your initiatives, which are very impressive for all of us. Actually, I'm asking my question to Mr. Christopher John, sorry. I'm Atia Khatibi. I'm representing the Children and Youth Major Group to UNEP, and I'm the facilitator of Environmental Law Working Group. My first question is that actually I have two questions and one suggestion. The first question is that have you prepared or published any guidelines regarding establishing green environmental clinics, which could be used as a capacity building tool for other people around the world to use it? And my second question is that have you organized any courses related to environmental conflict resolution method? Because we know that, for example, mediation is becoming very prominent and very useful to resolve environmental conflicts. So did you have any courses related to this? And as a suggestion, because I'm representing Children and Youth Major Group to UNEP, and we're networking with a lot of youth around the world, we're highly interested in any cooperation in near future with you by organizing seminars or workshops for youth around the world as a capacity building session, that they would be empowered to establish green legal clinics in their own countries on their own capacity. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm very excited to hear about what you do and what your work on. And we have a Young Environmental Champion program at the Filipino Justice Center where we partner with the Sangguniang Kabataan and other youth all over the country for the Young Environmental Champion program. With regard to your first two questions, unfortunately, we have not done so yet, but we are excited while you were talking about it. That's a very good suggestion. I'll take it and discuss with the rest of the team to come up with those guidelines of coming up with environmental environmental law clinic to codify what we do, and the second one, as if I got you correctly, is to aside from the guidelines, to also make sure that other what we will do will be replicated elsewhere. We have not done yet.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Maybe I can invite Dr. Notamon to weigh in on this subject as well. Are you still there, Dr. Notamon?
Yes, I'm here. What? I cannot hear the question clearly. Can you repeat, please?
Yes, sure, I can repeat. My first question is that have you published any guidelines related to your initiative that would be useful for other people around the world, especially youth? And my second question is that did you organize any courses related to resolving environmental conflicts, especially mediation, which will be useful for resolving any environmental conflicts, especially in future? Thank you very much.
For the publication, I think we have the article that Dr. Georgina Loy, me, and Songkran Pongbunchan, that the article, I think the UNEP have the copy. If not, I can provide the copy later on about the establishing the environmental legal clinic that we started from Georgetown, Wuhan, and University of Victoria model of the environmental legal clinic. Actually, we have also Vermont Law School that they have the environmental clinic as well, but because of the limitation of the article that we have to keep it short. So this one is the I think it will have the guideline. And also I learned from Wuhan University that they have the environmental law clinic, that they do have the guideline for the practice of environmental legal clinic. And I think from Professor Wang speech that we have more of the insightful of the Chinese environmental legal clinic. So this is for the first question. For the second question, I think because of in law school in Thailand, we have so many of the courses that the law student have to learn. So we for specifically for the environmental clinical legal education, we have at least 2 courses for the student. First is the environmental law. Second is the environmental clinical legal course. So this is the mandatory. For the ADR or alternative dispute resolution, we have another course separately to study more of the negotiation, because as you mentioned, sometimes environmental conflict have more of the negotiation and the understanding than litigation. So mediation is also one of the fundamental knowledge that the environmental lawyer should have. So this will be my reflection from your question. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I have 2 countries that would like to intervene. Let me see, how much time do we have? Yeah, I think we have that 2 questions, and then we have one from online and one more from Georgie. Yeah, all right. So perhaps Bhutan, please.
Thank you very much to all the presenters. Very, very interesting presentations. Appreciate that. As we saw from the presentation, legal clinics are basically be housed in universities, and the practice that we have in the region is that the collaboration between the enforcing agencies, universities are not very impressive as we would want to see. So therefore, I have 3 questions. Firstly, while we have this legal clinics, what are the mechanisms, mediums that you adopt in order to reach to the, disseminate that you have this kind of services in these clinics to the most needy and vulnerable groups? Because often you may have these services, but then these groups are the ones who do not really have access to information. How do you do that? That is the very important. I feel that's the first step. And secondly, maybe this is more relevant to the Philippines case, Attorney John. The clinics are involved in policy drafting, legal drafting, case, so on and so forth. It's really, really interesting, but very overwhelming. So often there are agencies who are given this mandate specifically. And while clinics come up with these good ideas, how do you collaborate and what are the main challenges and how do you overcome that? That would be very, very useful. And then thirdly, while we talk about the legal advice recommendation, not everybody would have the case like flexibility in Philippines where you go and file cases. Often our case would be like in China's case where, representation could be restricted and often your service would be restricted to more of recommendations and advice. So in doing so, the scientific base, the evidence base is very, very important. So how do you collaborate and coordinate with those science-based authorities and agencies? And what are the buy-ins and support and how are these challenges done? And my final thing would be any guidelines or publications done through these clinics, if this could be shared through UNEP would be very useful for us. In Bhutan, we do have a clinic established very recently in the law school. And it's very interesting to share here that the law school came forward to my office, which is Ministry of Energy and Natural Resources, for the internship. And I feel this is a good starting step. And if we have information and experiences, best practices from your already established clinics, that would be very useful. So thank you very much.
So maybe John, you can take like 1 minute or two to, yeah, just very concisely.
All right. Thank you for that question, ma'am. Well, what we do is we make our services available online, also through the hotline, and we also go out to the communities in order to look for possible issues that we can address specifically for the environment. That's how we make our services available. And we are located in the different areas in the country through the legal aid offices. So the law clinics are located in the academe. Second question, as to if there are available. Second question is, how do we get into the help of the sciences? Basically, largely because of the academe as well. So we organize a regular meeting. We call it the Environmental Defender Science Edition, wherein we invite the different experts on sciences, social sciences, and other fields, and to activate them, more of activation and helping them. Their buy-in is to make their researches come to reality. One case in point, because of that Environmental Defender Science Edition, we noted that their frustration is that they have a lot of studies on rivers, on single-use plastics, on trees, but then again, these fall into deaf ears because it does not translate into policy. That's where law students and the law clinics come in to help the sciences translate their researches into policies that will be beneficial for the community. And will be, as of the moment, we don't have a step-by-step guide in coming up with the clinics because we too are barely 2 years in existence, but we'll be happy to do that. And when that is available, we'll be able to share it with everybody here. Thank you.
这确实是一个非常好的这个问题，就是确实是由于信息的问题，可能诊所帮助的并不一定是真正需要特别需要帮助的人，因为我们这个诊所呢是Clapway 有一个污染受害者法律帮助的咨询热线电话。 这个呢，曾经在社会上很多人都知道，但是呢，并不是每一个诊所都会有这样的电话。 所以呢，就这些受害者不一定都了解谁可以帮助他，这确实是一个问题。为了要解决这样的一个问题呢，一个是就是应该是还是要由政府建立普遍的法律援助。就是这样的呢，就是免费的对公众提供法律援助，让每一级政府都这么做，可能好一些。现在中国政府就是在各级县一级的政府都有法律援助机构，可以做这些事情。另外呢，就是在全国各地更多的建这种NGO 环境法律帮助的 NGO。这样呢，诊所的学生可以在他们那儿实习，那么也可以对提供这种法律援助。反正这个问题确实是存在的。
Yeah, this is a very good question, and it's very difficult to solve because the real vulnerable group, they don't have enough access to information. So, for instance, for my environmental law clinic, we also set up a hotline to receive the calls or requests from pollution victims. But you know, for other environmental law clinics, I don't think they have great publicity of their hotline or of their channels to provide legal aid to victims. In order to solve this question, there should be made by joint efforts. For instance, in China, the government has set up some environmental legal aid agencies at very local level. And for another option, I think a lot of environmental NGOs can be set up or can provide more channels for environmental law clinic students to have internship in those local NGOs to have real access to those vulnerable groups across China at very local levels. Yeah, so this is a very difficult issue, and we should make efforts.
Thank you for your question.
Just so that we remember, Dr. Notamon is also online. If you're still there, Dr. Notamon, if there's any points that have not been made by the other two speakers, would you like to respond quickly?
Yes, I think I would like to add a little bit about what I reflect previously about how we will train the law student to collecting data and also to have the plain language to communicate with the people, especially for the ethnic minority and the original the lay person that we need to discuss with them. And also one of the technique about the negotiation and the skill beside the legal skill is how to communicate and collect the data and survey. So this will be on the process of the education clinical legal education approach. So I think this will be added from the two speakers. Thank you.
Thank you, Nutamon. Thank you very much. Now, I think we have time for Pakistan to intervene very quickly, if you could.
Thank you so much for giving me the floor. My first question is to Mr. John. You mentioned something about rules of procedure for environmental clinics. Are they a binding legislative instrument or are they merely guidelines? That's my first question. Second, almost all panelists have mentioned using alternative dispute resolution mechanisms for resolving environmental disputes. Obviously, that's far more efficacious and far more speedier than overburdening already burdened justice systems. My question is, how do you suggest from your practical experience to strengthen ADR mechanisms and frameworks for environmental disputes? And what are the main hurdles that you have faced and encountered during your practice? Because this will help us make formal frameworks for ADR, which will be efficacious for the clinics and generally for the justice system. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Perhaps John, in 2 minutes.
Okay, thank you for the question. The rules of procedure for environmental cases is available in the Philippines as a matter of procedural law. and it is binding as far as we're concerned. That's where we follow procedures as far as how we litigate environmental cases. As to ADR, it's something that is developing yet in the Philippines. We have not have it is not subject to ADR, environmental law, as of the moment, as far as ADR is concerned. So that is a developing mechanism. That is a developing, but there is always negotiation. We are open to discussion as to how we approach the problem, but as to the specific ADR guidelines, that is something that I am not privy of. Perhaps we can get back to you on that. And as to what we have, the issues, that's why we set up with the green legal clinics. The issues is that we really lack lawyers who practice environmental law. That's why one of the goal of coming up with the green legal clinics is to encourage law students to look into the practice of environmental law, because when, especially our come on to them is, we want to practice international law. Environmental law is one field that is truly international. We feel we actually have the same issues all over the world. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Professor Wang?
当然就是解决环境纠纷的途径是多种多样的，比如可以双方和解来解决。当然，如果是小的纠纷还可以，但是大的纠纷和解是很难的。还可以有一种调解的方式，有一个中间人来进行说和，来进行调解。我们诊所的学生很多时候是进行参与来调解这种纠纷。那个当然了，还有一种找行政机关来处理，由行政机关来参与，对这个做出一个裁决。还有一种就是仲裁，也可以来解决纠纷。那个最后没有办法了，那可能就是到法院去诉讼。我们之所以来支持这种诉讼呢，是因为在开始的时候法院不愿意来受理环境案子来打官司，所以呢，等到我们促进了法院能够建立环境法庭来受理环境案件的时候，我们可能又反过来又用多种途径来促进纠纷的解决，最好是能通过调解来解决，就是这种解决纠纷的方式是多样的。但是解决环境纠纷的困难就在于最后的执行。你比如一些大的这个案件，要不然一个工厂就要停产，那么停产了可能对就业产生影响，对一个地方的税收也产生影响。但是再一个呢，就是要不然就赔偿很多，但是这个工厂又赔不起，所以在这种情况下，解决环境纠纷的困难就在这儿。
There are many ways for environmental dispute resolution, and for environmental law clinic, the students mostly part in the meditation, process. And also because, as I mentioned, the environmental justice system has developed a lot through the time. So now some disputes can be effectively solved through environmental justice system, etc. But from my point of view, the real difficulty lies in the law enforcement. After the resolution result comes out, how to enforce that? That's a real difficulty. For instance, some enforcement may lead to the shutdown of some big companies that will cause a lot of layoffs and are closely related to economic development, etc. That's the real difficulty lies nowadays that should that should require all of our insights, thinkings, and actions, etc. Thank you.
Thank you for your question.
Thank you. Dr. Notamon, do you have any last words in wrap in 1 minute maximum?
Yes, I think we all realize that the environmental law is the interdisciplinary. So beside environmental science, we need technology, economics, and political arena and culture as well. So this is all about the movement for environmental advocacy. So I think this environmental education clinic will be have training for the future lawyer for to prepare this.
Thank you, Dr. Nutamon. And can we give a round of applause for the speakers today for sharing? Thank you. As we can see, establishing an environmental legal clinic is not new and highly replicable. And we have the technical experts, we have the dedicated professionals and lawyers and other experts. And we do have the blueprint as well, if you want to look at them. So what we need to do is to see how we can do this sustainably. And I hope this will inspire more establishment of the environment legal clinic, and in the next regional meeting to hear more about which country has set up these clinics. And at this point, commercial break, where UNEP is committed to support access to justice as a cornerstone to environmental rule of law. And we recognize the important role of ELC in successfully enabling access to justice, to information in the environmental matters. We have heard several of the representatives and they have requested UNEP to support in the sharing of information amongst ELCs, and we will explore how we can support the sharing of this knowledge under the Montevideo program. Perhaps a section on ELC can be created on the Law and Environment Assistance Platform, or the LEAP platform, as we mentioned. We can also continue to share through a community of practices on ELCs. Would that be acceptable? Yes? All right. So with that, I conclude the first session of this meeting, and I'll hand the mic over to Georgie for some housekeeping. Thank you. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you for that excellent session on environmental legal clinics. So we're now going to a break, but following the break, we are going to be in 2 parallel sessions. The national focal points of the Montevideo program are going to resume in this room for a closed door meeting amongst the national focal points. So if you are here in your capacity as a national focal point to the Montevideo program, please stay in this room. In meeting room A, which is just outside the door, and follow the corridor around to your left, meeting room A is just there, very close by. There is going to be a session on youth climate justice and the role of law students in enabling actions for climate justice. So it's a fantastic session. So please, everybody else, go after the break to meeting room A for that session. And that session, the session on youth climate justice, will be live streamed and on Zoom as well for everyone joining us online. If you was a sponsored participant and your travel was sponsored by UNEP to come here, please meet my assistant JJ outside, and please bring your boarding passes to give to JJ. So please do meet her just outside the room. Thank you, and we will resume at 3:30. So either meeting room A or in this room at 3:30. Thank you.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for being here in this session, the closed door meeting for the Montevideo National Focal Points. Let me quickly start with introducing myself. My name is Mirak Al-Jubouri. I am the Regional Coordinator for Environmental Governance in the Regional Office of West Asia in Beirut, Lebanon. So today we will be, so as you can see, this is a smaller meeting because it's only focused on the national focal points because we would like to discuss the program. So the purpose of this session, if I may, is to get, so this is, it's not going to be a presentation. There will not be a speaker. I'm simply a moderator of the session. So I would welcome and ask each and every one of you to please participate because this is a discussion and the purpose of the session is to get your input. So please, this is your session, not mine. So we would like to get your input on few items. But before we do that, I would like to start by going around the table with a round of introductions, because I think that will also create some connections between the national focal points. Because I think this synergy is very important. So if you're okay with that, I'm going to start with the right-hand side from Bangladesh, and we'll just go around the
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm Abdul Wahid Chaudhry, working in the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change as Deputy Secretary. Thank you. And I'm the national focal point of.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, colleagues. My name is Kunzang. I'm the head of legal service at Ministry of Energy and Natural Resources, national focal point for Montevideo, and also a steering committee member and rapporteur. Thank you very much, and lovely to meet everybody.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Yuvaktep Wan. I'm actually an officer at the Ministry of Environment. I am here on behalf of the national focal point. So I'm not actually the national focal point. And nice to meet you all. Thank you.
Good afternoon, colleagues. My name is Chatra. I work for the General Department of Policy and Strategy of the Ministry of Environment in Cambodia. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Zhang Naiyue from Ministry of Ecology and Environment, Department of Laws and Regulations. It's my pleasure to come here and meet everyone. Thank you.
Good evening, colleagues. This is Akram Mirzakhani from Iran, Department of Environment, International Affairs, Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Thank you.